All right, guys, so we are here for emergent group coaching. I figured you need it. I figured you would benefit from it. In case you are newer to the tribe, I'm HimaReddy, and you should be seeing my screen here in a moment, okay? So here we are for bonus Tribe Monthly Group Coaching Live with Hima. Today's Thursday, February 24th, and it's about 12 noon Eastern. We're going to dive right in. So important reminder before we look at the markets together, that trading and investing can be extremely risky business. Therefore, it's your responsibility to evaluate any information, opinion, advice, or other content contained in the session. All right, I will give you direct feedback on the markets, direct advice. We'll talk about strategies where applicable. But remember, I don't know your account size. I don't know your risk reward tolerance. And so I need you to understand that you're going to be taking your trades at your own risk, and you're here for your education. So for those of you here live, if you could please type a D for disclosure in the chat, that you understand the risks involved with trading and you're ready to focus on your learning, and we will dive in. Okay, awesome. Great to see lots of new and familiar faces. Hi, Naresh. Good to see you. Danny, Yogesh, Robert, Dexter, Stefan, James, Don. Good to talk to you the other day, Don. Ronnie, Danny. Again, I said hi to Danny, okay. Looking at the new names, Adam, JP, Ed, Acentra, Bruce, Jack, Terry, Badresh, Jesse, Harmon, Renee, Ricardo, fantastic guys. Salim, awesome, good to see you all. So let's take it to the markets, all right? So what I'm gonna do is bring up my TradeStation screens where I have my monthly group coaching live page. And this is just a kind of blank chart with a little radar screen on the side, and you'll see what I mean in a moment here. And anything you want to ask about, go ahead and ask. Now, I will say, because some of you are new here, I'm going to give you a little reminder of what we do in monthly group coaching live to make things optimal, okay? So again, this is a coaching session for everyone in the tribe, whether you have a product of mine or not, whether you've been with me 1 day, 1 year, someday I'll be able to say 1 decade, right? I just want to help you out given what's gone on in the world. And before we get into the charts and the technical stuff, I just want to say, as a person, as a human, if you have any family, friends, loved ones, colleagues in Ukraine or the areas that are being hit, my heart goes out to you. I really do wish them, send them love, wish them safety. We have a team member at HimaReddy.com that's based in Ukraine. And he has messaged up that he has gone to a bomb shelter. So like, this is real shit, okay? So I just want to say that. Secondly, Russia has invaded Ukraine. Maybe you have Russian family descent. Maybe you have family members that are soldiers who are just, doing as they are meant to be doing. And I just wish safety to them as well. So I just wanted to put that out there, because this isn't just about the markets and making money. Like, there's real world stuff going on. And I'm sitting here worried about my guy, Alex, okay? So hopefully you'll hear back from him soon later today. In the meantime, we're going to send love to Alex and send love to everybody else who's actually dealing with this in their real day-to-day, right? And we're going to come back here and deal with it with the markets. So if you hear me on that, you agree with me on that, please type a Y in the chat. And like I said, we will get right to the markets now, and I will take your questions. All right. So as you can see here, I have a little bit of guidelines. So if it's your first time at any sort of group coaching with me, go ahead and type the number 1 in the chat, that you've never been with a HimaReddy live training session. All right, welcome to Adam, Mark, Bruce, Acentra, awesome. So the way that we do this is, for me to best help you, what I do is I ask you to give me 1 ticker at a time. If you put more than 1 ticker in your question, I'm going to move on to somebody else, okay? Because it's not really fair if one person gives a list of 10 tickers and I try to move through all of them. I want to give everyone a fair shot. So think in your mind of the market you really want to know the most about, and just give me 1 second before you put them in, because otherwise I'll have to catch up, all right? And when you put that ticker in, it really helps me to help you, and it really helps to make this a lesson for everyone. If you put a question with that ticker, like what strategy you have on, your price, time, or momentum analysis, anything you have specifically to say about it, I want to know what your take is on it first, or what your specific question is about it, okay? So include that with your ticker, and again, put 1 at a time. So here's some guidance for great examples from the past. Somebody asked GLD calls. So they were having options, expecting higher prices, entered long Monday, looking to hold for 10 days. They just wanted my perspective, okay? So with that, now I'm going to start scrolling back to some of what you guys have asked already since you put questions in, and go ahead and let me know your questions. And again, one ticker in your question with one bit of information at the least: price, momentum, analysis of timing, a strategy you have on, anything like that. So while you do that, what I'm going to do is have a little sticky note here. Okay, for those of you on a PC like me, you know the little sticky note app. So what that does is it makes me have like a little active notepad here. If I can move my screen, zoom around, okay. And I'm going to use that to put in your questions. So go ahead, type them in. This is where I take like a minute to kind of make my own little initial list, okay? Oh, Harmon, I'm just seeing it's your birthday. Well, happy birthday. Definitely a dramatic day for you here. I'm a February baby too. My birthday was last week. So shout out to all my fellow February babies and Aquarians. I think some of you dribble over to Pisces maybe. Okay, so Danny, I see your question about GME. Yogesh, you gave me a long list. Can you message back with what you want to look at first? Michael Kane, I see your question on ETH and ADA. Centra, I see your question about CVS. Maybe fill in some more color for me, Centra, with what you would like to see about CVS, okay? So I'm gonna grab a couple more of these. Okay, so Yogesh has narrowed down to Google. Fantastic, we'll start with that. Okay, there's lots of questions about the ES and NQ, which I cover in the skinny in the markets. Jesse asking about NVIDIA. All right, so everybody, if you haven't typed a question in yet, please pause and hold on. It's kind of like rounds at the bar, okay? I'll come back for another round, but I wanna make sure that I address the questions that have come in so far. All right, Terry, I see your question. Barry, I see your question. Don, I see your question. And I'm going to pause there. Okay. So I'll have to scroll back for any more. And again, I'm trying to kind of give one person a time. Renee, I see your question. I got that. All right, cool. So let's start with this list here. All right. So now I'm bringing my screen back up and you should see an empty radar screen here. Okay. And I'm going to list out the tickers that I'm going to address ASAP. So let's use the ES and the NQ to get our bearings in the broad market, okay? Because those are something I'm extremely familiar with, and it'll help us with all of our analysis here. So where are we in the broad market? So as you can see here, I have an ESH22 weekly chart. So this is the March 2022 front month of the E-mini S&P 500 futures. And as I showed my Futures Trading Lab members this morning, as I showed members at Advanced Monthly Group Coaching yesterday, even before we got this news overnight of the invasion, I saw room for further downside. Now, on my daily chart, there's a lot of analysis here, okay? But the real important resulting piece is that we are at timing for a low based on loss forecasting methods. So if you have loss forecasting, can you type an F for forecasting here? This just helps me know who has the education next to the concepts I might be explaining. So type an F for forecasting if you happen to have that course. All right. So something I mentioned was that some of the recent cycles I've been analyzing are actually a little bit more complex. I will get into that later in the spring. I'm hoping to kind of share advanced forecasting techniques, but I'm telling you, this has been guiding me since February 11th. Where am I on this? Yeah, since February 11th, I have been watching and having the expectation that we would probably trade lower into this 4,100 area, okay? So where are we now? Well, we're at the timing for a low to potentially form. And if you look at the intraday charts, so this is all marked up because this is how I publish it in the skinny and the mini reports, as you see here. We did sort of stabilize. And I pointed that out in the report that given that we've come into timing for a low, there's probably going to be some recovery. Is this going to be recovery that like, that's it? The shock of the war news has done and everything's over? It's too early to say. But so far we are recovering higher and you can see some of the resistance levels up ahead, okay? So the question that came in about ES, that's kind of what I have to say about it. We need to see how today finishes out. If today closes above that 41.10 sort of area, I think that will be a good sign for the market to at least stabilize a little bit from there, it may shake out further to the downside. All right, so let's come to NQ, which I analyze. I don't trade it. And so I actually maybe someday phasing out analysis of that, but let's look at it and compare. So you can see that the NASDAQ mini futures, right? So mostly tech stocks have been significantly weaker. Like they've actually been leading the S&P 500 market in terms of being faster and move to the downside. Here, I'm just going to, on this chart, I'm not going to open up my full NASDAQ panel. I see one of those same sort of advanced complex forecasts. Again, the reasons I'm doing this and how this is unfolding, I've not officially taught you yet. Okay, so don't do this at home. You don't know how to do it. Don't try to attempt it on your own. So both of these are coming into February 25th. So we are a day ahead of that in terms of the low potentially forming. But can you see how the ES and the NQ both had timing coming in a day apart? Just type a Y in the chat if you see that between these two charts I've been looking at. Okay, so this doesn't mean that we're definitely going to trade all the way down to this forecast or that we're going to keep going lower tomorrow. Sometimes forecasts are hit early, and I teach you guys how to use a missed forecast. So it's a very similar story for NQ. So I'm just going to go to the 60-minute chart for a moment, and then we'll step back from it. I will say that on the NQ, there's been this recovery that's more back towards these old bottoms. So this is a GAN concept. So if you have my GAN trading patterns course, then this is definitely an area you want to watch, because you might get a sell signal if we head up into that area and touch it. Remember, I have two different ways, the poke and the touch. Okay. So if you've got GAN trading patterns course, type a T for trading patterns. Okay. I'm letting you know that even if you don't trade the NASDAQ, this is a great example to watch to see if we start to have one of those price bottom poke sell or price bottom touch sell. Okay. So still, it's a little bit of wait and see. So now let me get into some of your more specific questions. So I'm going to change back to a daily time frame. Now I'm keeping all my analysis on one chart to make it fast and easy here. In my own trading, my own analysis, I'll usually have a separate chart for each time frame. So if you ask me about a market that I kind of know, I may not necessarily need to go to a higher time frame. But if I'm not familiar with it, I will. So GameStop, okay? Let's just take a quick look at it. Monthly time frame. Everybody knows probably that this has been one of those meme stocks, right? The whole Reddit business last year, and it keeps coming in and out of that. Even with all that drama, the price action is still telling in terms of, you know, where things may want to be heading lower. So right now we're in a downtrend after breaking out of all this sideways consolidation into the end of last year. On the weekly chart, you can see that, and it's just even more clearly delineated, right? This was all consolidation. We broke lower. Now, again, this session here is not for me to teach you from scratch anything. I'm either assuming you know some basics, having been in the tribe, or I will direct you to where the further education is, okay? There's no pressure here. I have nothing to sell you at the end of this live session. This is just like, I woke up today, saw the news, and I was like, I need to have a session with the tribe, okay? But I also understand that some of you want to take what you see here and be able to go study it. So please type a line in the chat if you understand. When I mention the product name, it's just so I'm letting you know where you can go study. You're here to ask your questions, and I'm here to help you, just as a teacher right now, okay? All right, so what I see here on GameStop, Danny, a little bit more of a complex long-term cycle, but might be interesting because of how it overlaps back to these old bottoms. So it's a little bit longer term. So let me just keep that on the weekly chart and then go to the daily. So the one thing that I don't like about this is that on the daily chart, it has too many swing highs and lows in it. It kind of muddles the waters for you if you're not used to using advanced forecasting. So let me take this one off from the weekly and let me use something more short term from the monthly. In fact, I'm going to pop quiz you guys. Oh, okay. He never asked about GME. He was just saying good morning. No problem. Hey, I'm going to make a teaching example of it. Okay. So I want you guys to look at this. And because I know you, Danny, I wanted to get your question answered first. Everybody who's here, who's any sort of forecasting education with me, Even though this is an accidental ticker request, we're going to finish it out. Okay, we're still going to make a teaching moment of it. Let's look at 1, 2. I'm just numbering significant highs and lows. Ooh, that's an ugly 5. 5, 6, 7. Okay, so those are my forecasting students here. Which levels would you use to make your next useful pretty point forecast? Just let me know in the chat. And then I'll move on here. Okay, so I agree, there's a couple here. And the ones that I would have looked at recently, this would have been extremely helpful to be ready for the timing for the 7 high to form. You guys see that 4, 6, and 5? Please type a Y if that makes sense to you. How that would have been helpful for the timing on the high at 7. Okay. And then, given where we are right now, I agree with many of you that this is probably more useful. So potentially room to trade down to $60 if we bust below this support price probe, right? There's all this support here. So those of you newer to my work, I use color a lot to help me guide. When I'm doing these forecasts quickly, I just keep them in black, but on other charts, you may see them in pink, blue, green, red, okay? And when I use any pink horizontal line, it is support, whether it's actual past traded level or projected level. And if I use any blue horizontal line, it's resistance. I try to use color to make it easier for you guys to pull information from my charts. All right. So let's move along then, since that was an accidental ticker request, but still a good learning moment. So Yogesh was asking about Google. All right. I know this market, but let's everyone get their bearings because it's been a volatile one. Who here trades any tech stocks, FANG stocks? Type a F for FANG, just so I know. I know I said F for forecasting earlier, but right now F for FANG. Okay, so we have several FANG stock traders here. Great. So looking at what Google has experienced, we had a minor bearish divergence up into the extreme high in November. So that is something from your advanced RSI power zones education. Very helpful that it was in the bull resistance power zone. We've been obviously weakening since. Then we retested the high. So Google's a little different because of this gap it had up here, if I remember correctly. Retested the high from November and then came back lower. So on the weekly chart, because I see all these various big green and red candles, I don't think it's as useful to draw. Sorry, my nose is just itching. I'm not picking it or anything, okay? I'm not going to use the weekly chart to draw forecasts because I don't think they'll be as useful. I'm going to use the daily chart. God, it's really itching. All right. And on the daily chart, let's see where we're at. I'm actually going to go to the intraday for a second. As soon as possible, please, to get my data. Okay. So just like a lot of other, like I showed you with the NASDAQ, well, I showed you with the ES and the NASDAQ are at timings for low, Yogesh, right? They're close to it. Google is at important support on the 60-minute chart and so far holding it. So if we see a move above this high right here, this 2640, there might be room for further recovery. And from a forecasting point of view, I would monitor that. This isn't officially useful yet, okay? But I would monitor this resistance. Now notice we've already reached the price that this forecast for the correction would suggest, but we have reached there really, really fast. That could be that the market's stronger than expected. So basically, Google is still in a downtrend, but if it is able to reclaim 2641, watch for further upside. Does that help you out, Yogesh? Okay, I'll try to check in with you guys and confirm if my analysis is helping you out. Okay, moving along. We've got a question about ETH.